Brandon, I know we were talking about the Patriots, so I was iffy about one game that I
Uh-huh.
have him at 9-8. I was questioning the game against the Colts because I feel like that's a very winnable game. It's at home, and I know Belichick can out scheme anybody, but I don't know. That was my toss up. I ultimately went with the Colts, but I had them initially. I found 10 wins there, and I was just juggling between whether or not they could pull that one out.
I have them losing that game.
Okay.
Um, but speaking of the Colts, we're moving on to the AFC South, so perfect transition, Justin. And they're the number one team in that division. I think we all can agree on that. They found their quarterback. This is I said about the Broncos. They're supposedly a QB away. I believe we can all agree, and the consensus is the Colts were a QB away, and now they have found their QB and Matt Ryan, who we're all hoping that father time does not affect him. I think we're all getting spoiled with Aaron Rodgers playing at an elite level, Drew Brees before the injuries really started to take his toll, and Tom Brady obviously late in his career. We do still have to look at concerns of. I think he's 38 now. We still have to look at concerns, and father time does affect basically the whole field of the quarterbacks except for the elite few. Um, but I do think Matt Ryan is going to perform at a high level still this year. Um, they still got Jonathan Taylor, who's arguably the best running back in football. Quentin Nelson, I think the best offensive lineman in football. Darius Leonard, linebacker, who's just insanely nasty. They signed Stephon Gilmore, who really showed something that he still got some fight left in him in his few games in Carolina last year. I love Frank Reich. I think he's doing wonderful things in Indianapolis, and I just hate that his years so far have been riddled with not having the quarterback to go with. It sucks. If he had Andrew Luck, this team would be up there as the top two or best team in the AFC, maybe in football. And they have the fourth easiest schedule in the NFL. I mean that's going to be a major factor. I have them finishing 12-5. If anybody wants to.
12-5. I got the Colts at 13-4. I'm with you, man. I put them in my top five rankings as best teams in the league, simply because there's not too many holes on this team. They would, like you said, they were a quarterback away and they found their guy. And now it's just a matter of, like you said, father time. Is he going to be healthy enough? Is he going to decline? Is he going to be just good enough for the Colts to take that next step? All you got to do is be 10% better than Carson Wentz to get this team to another level because Carson Wentz threw them into so many losses.
Yeah.
They have a guy that won't do that. So I'm a big believer in the Colts. I have them finishing 13-4, second team in the AFC.
I had them winning 11 games. And to set the record on Wentz, a lot of people have been looking at the numbers and saying, oh, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. The start of last season, most Colts fans were optimistic because he was good. And if you look at the production, he was really good. He was playing at the level of a Dak Prescott or Kirk Cousins. It was really those last 6 weeks. And you guys saw it in that New England game where the dude basically, like, they couldn't use him. They had to lean heavily on Jonathan Taylor, as most teams should, with the Offensive Player of the Year. My what fascinates me about the Colts is last year they saw Michael Pittman break out. Do you guys think he's a number one receiver, or it is an elite number two?
I think that he's going to have a huge season with Matt Ryan.
I say an elite number two. I just think they have a lot of good weapons. Nothing on the outside that's going to blow you away, but they're good.
Between Alec Pierce, the bigger receiver out of Cincinnati, and Paris Campbell, who's flashed a good amount of potential when healthy, can they find a number two to support him?
I really don't. I can't say much about Paris Campbell because we really don't see him on the field at all.
Ever.
So
Yeah,
for me to
that's the one weakness in Indianapolis is the receiving core. If you're going to point to something, it's the receiving core. But I do think Michael Pittman. I mean, you saw the year he had with Carson Wentz. I think Matt Ryan's going to make him that much better.
The thing with Campbell,
Go ahead.
Rashad Penny was another player, a first round pick, who was never healthy his first 3 seasons. And then last year, he got a good string of luck and he led the NFL in yards a carry. So I always hold that hope because when Paris, in a limited time, has played, he's looked pretty promising. Now, for the Colts and Michael Pittman's pending breakout, I don't see it because Matt Ryan in the red zone just is not very good, and he doesn't throw a whole lot of touchdowns, especially we saw last year with Kyle Pitts, only had one TD, and Julio Jones in his prime, he wasn't catching many, or 6 or 7. I don't think Pittman will score more touchdowns. Maybe he has more targets. I would expect that's a reasonable possibility if he can play every single game. But what really is interesting is that this offensive line also can be better this year. Because last year they were banged up. Quentin Nelson wasn't healthy for the entire year. Ryan Kelly, he lost his baby as well, and he wasn't the same last year either. So prayers up to him and his family. Brandon Smith is a very solid right tackle. I'm looking to see if this offensive line can be better because JT had a fantastic year last year, but there was that extra gear and pass protection where I felt like they could have been much better given the resume. You know, if you're a great offensive lineman at 23 years old, you can fall off, and you're still going to have that reputation if you're a Pro Bowler years ago. Now, I'm not saying these guys have fallen off because they haven't. I just want to see them get back on track and not regress a little further in 2022. Now, this defense, Brandon and Gus Bradley, I'm also very excited for. Kwity Paye, Yannick Ngakwe, I can barely pronounce his name, from the Raiders, and Shaq Leonard, he changed his first name. The other thing that really interests me is Nick Cross is going to come in as a rookie and start. And I want to see if Stephon Gilmore really does have more left in the tank. Yeah, absolutely burnt to crisp by Michael Pittman in a recent practice. And the clip went viral. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was pretty
I,
bad.
yeah, I
I
didn't see
think
that
Pittman
one.
hit him a little fake dig and then went up for a fade. And it was pretty cold. So I'm interested how good will his secondary be with Kenny Moore? He's a big time playmaker and a Pro Bowler. Can he be that number one? I think he can. He also gets a lot of big time plays. So we'll see. I think the defense will be top five. Offense is really all based off of how big time Matt Ryan is. And I think for him to get an offensive line, there's a lot of reason to be excited, but there is a little bit of an extra gear where I feel like he's more toward the 15th best quarterback. He's more toward a Dak Prescott or a Kirk Cousins than he is Patrick Mahomes or even a Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Well, if you're
Oh,
going
go ahead.
into my bad, B. If you're
No, go ahead.
real quick, if you're going into the season expecting Matt Ryan to put up numbers like he's Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen, then you're delusional. I know that's not what you're saying. Not you hinting at him doing that, but that's nuts. That's not happening. You know, if we rewinded maybe 5 6 years, he could probably. How
I
long
think
ago was that Super Bowl?
2016.
2016,
If we
a long time
rewinded
ago.
back then when he's an MVP candidate, sure. But I mean, he could put up solid numbers. Like you're right,
I,
Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott. Why not?
Yeah, I think he can easily put up over 4,000 yards. I think he's done that still in the past couple of years. I
Last
think
year was the first time he didn't since
he didn't.
2011, and he was. Here's the thing: he was 32 yards shy. So
Yeah. I think he could get to 4,000 yards though. I think he can throw 30 touchdowns. He'll probably have anywhere from like 11 to 14 interceptions, 65% completion percentage. That's a pretty damn good year.